get to it then. Here is our first game of Miramar for the day as we head over to the commentators here for all the action from the Dusty Dunes.
Man, going from that Tego game to Miramar, I am happy.
What do I say? That was absolutely bonkers to see a circle like that. I mean, that almost is akin to like if this would go to like the islands to the east of Puerto Paraiso, right? Because it's so off the cuff, it's so out of pocket, so to speak, and then it just kept shifting, right? It could have centered up and maybe gone to the island, but no, we saw so many teams have to cross. Obviously, Friendly Fire, I do really feel for them. I don't feel like they misplayed that. It's just when you have to cross and you don't have a boat, and also Day Trade, right? They were also stuck on that island because of the fight that they got in. It's rough, but man, for the teams that did adapt and the teams that played well, obviously we saw LG on the south side, again, picking up points, starting to build the momentum, and they are very much in the running, as are most of the teams, even Friendly Fire, right? They're sat at 38 points. They're only one game away from making the top 8.
Man, I am content over here. You know, like whenever you go over to grandma's house and they just like unload that dinner on you and you end up just being like leaned back, content, and you think that you're good, and then suddenly she's like, wait,
here's
look
dessert.
at all of this dessert. Well, we've got 3 desserts coming at you right now, as this is going to be an absolute barn burner of a day to look at how all these things are going together. I love the fact that Toffees was also talking about, even just look at LG. You can see that the teams that are competing in this, yesterday, a lot of our teams that were kind of in that lower 8, you could kind of see the dejection in their face. Not now. Now everybody's like, this is the time to make it happen. No more excuses. And I love it.
You know what? They're putting some good games together for themselves, right? They've been finishing within the top 5, getting some kills pretty much every single game. I think they had 1 7th place, but even then they had like 4 kills in that game. And so, yeah, LG is starting to really kind of pick things up and put it together, as well as all the other teams. That's actually the most important thing, is that the teams that we really needed to step up, the teams that we were really hoping to kind of show up have. Day Trade, obviously, have had a big game. 4 a.m. have pretty much been as consistent as you can be. As the Des mentioned, they had nothing but top 6 finishes there, a 3rd place, a 2nd place, a 1st place. And so, I mean, this is the type of day that you want to have in a lower bracket run, right? All the teams that are struggling, making the adjustments, and then even the teams at the top kind of struggling to kind of sponge those points, making it interesting for that top 8.
3 games left, and look at this. Okay, so there is a 6-point drop-off, like Clark was saying right before he kicked it over to us, down to Forest, right? But then just 3 points back behind that LG, then a 4-way tie at 38 points.
Day Trade, Petrichor, Friendly Fire, and E Arena. Man, yeah, this is gonna be a tight race. Tight race.
We're going back to what is it? The 2010s? Tight kind of situation. We got a tight race that's going to be looking at here. Sorry, boomer references aside, we've got ourselves the Death Star Trench. That's a key component of this, as well as that water treatment hillside. You know, that's going to be with those god compounds that are going to be to the southwest of it. Included in this, we also have Minas Generalis, as well as Junkyard. So a lot of, I would say, key components for some really fun in-games.
Yeah, and as we're watching kind of Tyloo here rotate on the south side, we should talk about the circle, specifically the center of the circle. So that crossroads area just to the east of Hacienda will be very difficult to play, especially when it does lead into that trench, Death Star Trench, we call it specifically because of how difficult it is to cross either side once you're stuck and the circle shifts. The center of the circle, though, where we see 4am kind of rotating around and where we see that crossroads, if you're not set up early in this circle, there is absolutely nothing to play. Yeah. And that becomes a big issue for a lot of these teams that are rotating in much later here.
Hacienda makes for a very awkward game, and 4 Angry Men know this. This is their backyard, right? This is where they like to play. This is where they find a lot of strength from. And as we're looking in, we do have Twisted Minds already making their shift into position, coming down. Looks like they've got their eyes set just to the west of where we saw 4 Angry Men set up at. Tyloo leaned out of their vehicles, more aggressive in rotation. They are going to be coming in near Puerto, so they've got a ways before they even need to worry about anybody. But this is a lot more of how they were playing in that group stage, right? We saw them here the past couple of days making much either early rotations to get into center or much later rotations and just showing. Now they're like, nah, we're back to vibing. Let's see if we can maybe get some of these like mid-game fights. Somebody wants to take some shots at us. Great. Unfortunately, LG, you're pathing in their direction, man.
Yeah, LG is rotating very closely to Tai Lu, but as you said, and you can look here, a lot of these teams are opting for those early rotations because they do know if they come in this one late, it's going to be a lot of problems. And I do worry about teams like E-Arena as well as DD Team who have not even begun to rotate yet, as they will be able to find a foothold sure into the first circle, but that next shift, especially if he does center up or even go a little bit east, will cause a lot of issues for them.
I do like this that Tai Lu, though, did realize that they saw LG in their rotation. They stopped. You don't want to get into a car firefight across those fields in Impala because you don't know how the crossfire could be set up, who could try to third party you into this. So showing the restraint, and that's going to be the thing. If you're one of these, I guess, more aggressive early game teams, you've got to make sure that you're reading the terrain and what's going to be going on. As a lot of our rotations now starting to cement into play. Petrichor Road going to be coming up over here next to Picado. Pathing in, they've got themselves 17 that's going to be playing around Graveyard. Just to the east of that's going to be Minas Generalis. And I want to point out, Navi playing that high hillside just to the north of Minas Generalis means that they have so much information.
Yeah, they're going to have a nice little split there. I believe it's Alia that might be up on that hilltop, but it's essentially a little shelf that you can only push really one of two ways. And if you're going to push that, they're going to be very well aware of the fact that you are on that approach. So yeah, Navi with a nice split. They also have two members a little bit more north centered up in one of those kind of little shanty towns there. 17 is starting to kind of encroach on their position here just from the west side, and they're going to realize that most of Minas is free and they can kind of take their time and just kind of wait for the circle shift, as they're also going to be able to spy out Twisted on their west.
Patulin's using the rest of the information from his Pride Rock, now moving in back behind 17. You can see Expendables keeping an eye on what's going on with Flood, as the LG boys did decide to path in across that Impala field, and they are going to be north of it, kind of close to that junkyard line where we have the Expendables. This is some big restraint coming out. Those shots aren't going to connect onto Flood, and that's going to be a quick retreat down. But now realizing, okay, yep, this is firmly defended, and we've got to be careful with that. Flood did take some damage, but it's not like an end-all, be-all situation for him.
He ate a headshot, but yeah, they're going to realize that they need to just keep on wrapping east, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They should have a nice wide wrap, and they'll even be able to come in around Azahar as long as they can scout that out and realize that it's open. This is going to be a good position for them to play as well. They just cannot lose anyone early, because this team has a very real chance of kind of not only making it to the top 8, but if they can just put a couple more good games together as they already have, they're going to build a nice little cushion for themselves, as they really need this momentum to carry them forward.
And I know we've been talking about it a lot, but remember, it is the top 8 today that are going to be going on to the grand final. The bottom 8 are going to be going home. That's why all of our conversation is around Tai Lu, Forest, LG. Yeah, look, we can see Twisted Minds, Navi, they're doing great, but we already know the fact that
there's no reward for coming in first. It's essentially just coming. I mean,
well, there is. But
well, yes, but what I'm saying is that's going to be a nice, a boost of confidence there. But yeah, mainly it's just these teams just want to get into that top 8 cusp.
So LG going to go ahead and throw their down player inside the trunk and roll back over this direction. The Expendables, I like their counter moves around this. They have shifted 2 members back over. We've talked about it a lot. With the way the Expendables move, it's very, very interesting. They also did immediately send Delwyn into a much more northern position.
They're shadowing LG here.
So they're just trying to get ahead of them every single step of the way. Take a couple of shots, slow them down, reposition back into it, and it's just working time and time again for them.
This is also very frustrating if you're a team like LG that's just trying to find a foothold into the circle, to have a team so actively, kind of hunch you. They're not doing it because it's LG. They're just doing it because this is what TE would do to any team rotating in on their east side here. So it's a little annoying here, but if LG can fight back, they might be able to just kind of dissuade the Expendables from doing this.
With a bit of a read on what's going to be happening. We also have Tai Lu that's pathing into the same direction that LG was doing. The Expendables, though, have their eyes a bit more set into the circle. Friendly fire. All of the north, Kurtavaye, that's theirs. They do have 2 members of Sarvum. That's going to be their closest, but whenever I say closest, like what, 400-500 meters?
It's a decent amount of distance, yeah, but they're pretty much clear up in the north, as you're saying.
I mean, so if they make that wrap down, if they're, it looks like they might be eyeing the northern side of Death Star Trench, where Forest is kind of hunkered down in, and that's no surprise. No big rush coming out from them, as we do also have now Tai Lu starting to move into the vector where we see the Expendables playing at. Esports Arena going to be coming in back behind them, as we're going to have to keep an eye all together on some of these rotations. GP also might be pathing into this.
Again, looking at the center of the circle, though, Pat, as we're talking about these rotations, everything is taken. There's nothing left now. In the center of this circle, if it does shift there for these teams to daunting. It's going to be crash upon crash as we now see Tai Lu getting very close here to Tanvu from the Expendables, and we already saw some pretty impressive shots onto the side of LG from these guys, so be very careful treading this close to them. But it looks like Shen is actually going to stop in the same compound as Tanvu, and he's going to find a quick knock on a Tanvu.
Tai Lu just coming into this one as efficient as possible. Now Shen keeping his eyes up on that hillside. Now they're getting a couple more shots in. Tai Lu's going to go ahead and regroup into this. They are playing a bit more down into the lower section of this hillside, which means that the expendable members can be defended up. LG also hearing this, realizing the fact that this is going to be the Expendables, and now trying to kind of backtrack onto them, see if maybe they can get Delwyn out of this situation as well. But E-Arena just going to kind of roll right back in between this, and doesn't matter, as everything's now going to shift into the west, and San Martin and Hacienda, just like we were talking about.
Exactly what I was talking about, though. If you're not set up in the circle, there really is not much to play. Sure, on the south edge, you'll be able to find something there just below Twisted into the east of DD Team, but if you're 4AM, if you're Na'Vi, if those teams in the center, you're very happy with this. But if you're any of the teams rotating in, like Friendly Fire, the Expendables, E-Arena, Game PT, LG, Tai Lu, this is going to be an absolute meat grinder on the east side.
Splits become risky. You can see a lot of these teams also regrouping. It's going to be D plus Kia trying to regroup themselves up into the northern part of the circle day trade, committing away from their 2-2 split, and they're going to go much more into Hacienda. Twisted Minds, though, still leaning into it. They have a very strong 2-2 split that can kind of provide some supervision and some support to each other, as depending on how the crash is coming to play. Really, we just got our eyes set back into LG, Tai Lu, E-Arena, as well as GP, going to be kind of our moving factors down in the southeastern area.
And if this actually even shifts to the east, again, I just worry about all the teams still trying to rotate in, especially the ones on the south, as Petrichor have now taken a position where they could actually gatekeep a lot of the teams coming in from around La Bandita, and that's going to be E-Arena as well as Game PT, as Hush is going to take some shots here over at Mighty, and he might get the knock. So close. Oh, but he's hit the tree. Mighty is now stuck, and the rest of E-Arena will stop to help and support.
And just KM breaching this path and has got to be careful at range. It's still going to be GP taking the shots into this one, but did manage to push them out of this longhouse. But Hush didn't really leave. He just kind of abandoned the forefront position to allow his teammates to get some sight lines in. Here come the reinforcements rolling down the hillside and even rolling over the opponents quite literally to go ahead and make landfall into it. So now E-Arena gets themselves a longhouse, and GP, do you really want to push a longhouse this early in the game?
Yeah, Game and PT actually have looked, again, so good, especially in their team fights with... We've talked about some of the mistakes they make, but overall, they're still taking the fight to every team. It doesn't matter if it's E-Arena or Twisted Minds. They've really been able to find their footing here in these team fights, especially in 4-on-4s.
If you mind, just looking at that longhouse saying that this is going to be mine, as Mighty's going to have blue. Oh, Mighty, that's not going to be healable. He's in some trouble. He's going to go down with that knock. Are we going to see a push onto either one of the sides? They have to realize that, okay, there's an opportunity for this res, and it might provide a way to push in the opposing doorway.
It's still so risky, though. Pushing these long buildings it's less than ideal, as Zhao Yang will actually find Daku from distance. Tai Lu kind of heard a little bit of this, and they do want those points, as they're currently sat in 8th place, and Hella will now finish off Mighty. Only 2 members left from E-Arena.
And this is just coming apart. This isn't even inside safe zone. Blue zone's going to be a problem for everybody to have to contend with now. Bomb Seghead's just going to run into it, make sure to get the down and the flush onto what's going to be going on with KM99. Now just 1 member up for E-Arena, throwing out the Molotovs, throwing out whatever he can, just trying to retreat. But let's not forget, Tai Lu is still hanging out around here, waiting to catch up with whoever wins this firefight and has to leave it. That's going to be, yes, technically double a blue zone, because it's blue zone nade in the blue zone, and now lined in. Hella's going to take a ton of damage, but still cannot find this last member of E-Arena, cannot put the bullets into him, as it is just so well defended on this outside area. Make the push in, it's getting risky, problems abounding, these boxes being an issue, but finally goes down.
So Zizzy will get rid of Game PT, as that was a misplay from them. Again, stacking in that longhouse, especially with blue and blue zone grenades. So they will fall, as I was just complimenting how well they've been team fighting. I still maintain they've made great adjustments, but yeah, it's just going to be 1 member there of that fight left from E-Arena, as this is now shifted south into quite an unplayable area in the center.
E-Arena presently in 10th, did pick up the kills, but not really the situation that they want to be in, as they are going to be hardcore gate kept out, coming out from La Bandita, as we are seeing this very field-centric situation is rolling down right into Petrichor Road. They've got to be careful. Rod's already going to go down with the Summer's going to go down. Now Friendly Fire starting to get the advantage inside. Going to roll back through the smokes. Except on the outside, throwing out the nade. This this could be big as no, all of Petrichor is going to go down. Dip was not free and came at a pretty decent cost. Can Page get these reses back?
Yeah, Page can just recover this though. Friendly Fire will be in a nice position here to kind of hold and maintain because they are in a dip a little bit hidden there from what's happening on the west, but not comfortable by any means. His example will now fall as Tai Lu comes in on the southeast side of the circle.
Oh man, Sarvum's going to be coming down to the south for Angry Men, having to contend with Forest up close and in range, but this is a much slower firefight, and it is on the outside of it also.
And look at the expendables
playing to the north, and yes, this is just coming in off of a pickup. They're going to be landing just to the south of this, right up on top of 17. This is just coming apart for everybody in this defensive line.
Like I said, if you're not in the circle, you have to crash. There are no other options as Blue Zone's abound for both teams doing a considerable amount of damage as 4EM will hunker down. 17 will actually wipe the expendables as they come down from the sky, as 4EM would love to recover this. Look at their position here just on the north. They have a great ridge to work with as long as they can get rid of Forest.
4AM just trying to cling back to life, reset, figure out how they want to approach this. Zhao Lu trying to take it slow, but Olympus yet again, this man seems to find ways to open up doors for Forest whenever they so desperately need it.
As we see that little picture-in-picture there, it's just going to be the last member there of the Expendables. It's just 777 trying to survive. At least he's got some lucky numbers there going for him as we do see Olympus yet again finding a knock.
Oh, man.
The help of Scappy, actually, but yeah, 4EM is starting to fall here at Olympus and the rest of Forest with a great push here and a nice hold, man.
Just walking right out into the thick of it, they realize the fact that it looks like these angles are pretty open and safe. Nobody's playing to the north of them. They're just going to go ahead and go for the flush as 4 Angry Men is going to be out. And so now Forest finding more and more control and more safety on the leaderboard.
Yes.
On top of that.
Not only the safety, but a great position, as I said, to play this ridge. They can even play those kind of oil tanker silo things just to their west, so a lot to play for. They will have to contest with day trade here, but for the time being, they've bought themselves more than enough space and time.
Sarvum going to be coming in along a path where we can see
and they
LG.
get the shift.
Ooh. This is going to be a very awkward circle to navigate. You talk about just a second ago those oil derricks or whatever you want to call them to the west of Forest. Those are going to be open. Day Trade's trying to defend those up. It's going to be Kia already hopping inside their vehicles, making their rotation. Sarvum hasn't technically stopped yet. DDT running a 4-man split for a ton of information.
Yeah, and that was actually a nice send there from D plus Kia. They probably could see that from the ridge that they were on as well. That's going to be the only dip that's basically free in the center of this one, and so they're going to make it there with 4 alive. So the possibility of a huge game here from D plus Kia, as long as they can avoid mortars or any utility, but a nice send nonetheless. Southside, though, is a mess here, Matt, with the LG DD team as well as Sarvum trying to rotate in.
Don't forget about Tai Lu, who's been kind of the gatekeep right here. Is Navi's Mel going to be rotating into the opposing side of what's going to be going on? Dip's going to be a problem. You know, Friendly Fire not going to be comfortable inside of the dip that they just had to fight for because there's a chance that somebody could be crashing into it. Sarvum, though, going to lean a bit more into the east onto their approach. Looks like they're going to maybe be eyeing that position just on the opposing area outside of where 17's at. But guess what? They're going to have a very close neighbor inside of Kia who does not opt into throwing the nade yet. Good call. Got to get a bit closer, but man, I don't know if you really want to push to that hillside yet.
Yeah, Sarvum is stuck now between two teams in a much less desirable dip here, as both 17 and D plus Kia are within arm's reach, especially with that utility, especially with nades coming through. LG now will actually opt for a little bit more of a western rotation. It's probably their best bet, as they know there's going to be so many teams stacked up ahead of them.
Here's my fear there. They're going to be bisecting right through that split.
Himself?
But this split for DDT might have some issues. It's also going to be Twisted Minds. They're going to be able to see LG right as soon as they crest down there. So it's going to be 2 different teams with near on full vision on LG in this rotation. It's shooting duck. I mean, look at this. This is just, where do you go? It's so open. LG trying to make a desperation sin. They did at least manage to get kickstart by. DDT is going to be coming down the hillside back behind him. Snaker's here, but I mean, kickstart, even if he does manage to make it to the hillside, maybe he can play to that small dip that's going to be there, but that's about it.
He can play the high ground for the time being, right? There is a shack up there. As long as he can just survive and kind of, again, survive the chaos and let the other teams around them fall, they can still manage to salvage a couple placement points. So obviously not a great game here for LG, as they've been dealing with rotational woes with the Expendables kind of taking shots and mirroring them on the east, but Baby Kick can save them.
Tai Lu making the send down. It's going to be Shin that's going to be landing. And now that DDT has regrouped more to the east, they're going to be playing just north of the graveyard area. As Now the Minas Generalis team is going to start extricating themselves over there. Tai Lu going to find a bit of a dip to work around and take those shots back at the DDT. But let's not forget, there is still an E-Arena player alive, as well as Snakers still alive that could approach.
Yeah, Snakers still has not fallen. Obviously, he's in a very rough position, but Kick has taken that shack that I was hoping he would make it to. Is he should now have a good amount of information of what's happening in the circle. Even as a solo, he might be able to use that to get a nice position. As we now look at the fight here on the south side, it's going to be Tai Lu going against DDT, and Utility is already coming out with some mortars here being used by D plus Kia.
DDT needs to get some points off of this one. I mean, anything that they can manage to pick up could start some type of climb for them, but going up against Tai Lu, who has just been so aggressive, they know how to play around these situations. Nate's going to come out and just look at how they're juking around them. Finally, one of them is going to connect. It's going to come out from Spaceman, and it's going to be the rest of the squad thinking that they can step in, and yes, Tai Lu is going to go down. DDT does manage to defend. Comes at a cost to Mamu, but that's still some points.
It's better than nothing, though.
Hi, Snakers.
Yeah, Friendly Fire now has to contest with Twisted Minds. They've pushed out of the compound. They know that they're in a disadvantageous position, especially in this bowl, and so Twisted is just going to be throwing Utility, and they know they also have to clear DD team after they're done with this. And where do you even go after this? As Batulans is going to look for the spray, they're going to get the knock, and that is going to be it for Friendly Fire, but they still have so much work to do if they want to get inside the circle.
That's Poro's used car lot down there right now. There are just so many vehicles stacked up and then everything. The circle did pop up into the northeast because, you know, I felt that there was too much to play inside this one, so let's go ahead and see if we can get some more open areas. There are some compounds that are kind of available, not necessarily the tastiest of ones to work with. Also a lot of kind of valleys and dips, but with the amount of teams that are still alive, we have so many of them that have a southern leaning, and the ones that are in the circle are all gatekeeping them out.
Yeah, it is. The benefactors of this, again, are going to be Day Trade as well as Forest Gaming.
Yeah.
They have not had to contest with pretty much anyone else. Once Forest dealt with 4 AM, they've kind of had this kind of passive peace, so to speak, you know, a little bit of a mutual agreement is like, look, we have the north, let's just defend it from everyone else trying to come in, and then we'll deal with each other at that point.
Oh, Emo Pig making a reverse down the hillside this is going to be a bit scary. Twisted Minds in no big rush.
Where do you go?
Yeah, I mean, Twisted Minds realizes, hey, you know, we're sitting at 90 points. Let's just see how many people we can kill before we have to go.
Well, they made smart pushes, especially coming out of that compound from the west side. They knew they had to get rid of Friendly Fire as well as the team of DD team, but they're going to actually rotate in front and get in a position to somewhat fight here. Spaceman now trying to stave off the push from Twisted, as he's the only reprieve they have.
E-Arena still on their climb right now, thinking maybe they can get some more. DDT taking the shots, but Perfectix Batulans, that combo is so strong and so hard to contend with, as DDT just doesn't have a path into this circle right now. Keep your eyes on that leaderboard, though, right now. We have Sarvum that's at 53 points, keeping their eyes back in Tai Lu's position. Forrest going to be back behind them. Definitely going to have to see if the leaderboard's going to change up before we get to the end of this one. Maybe Forrest finding the capabilities to move into that top 8 as they're sitting pretty comfy inside the circle, not being involved in all of the mess that's going on to the south. DDT still just trying to cling to their livelihood, as it's going to be still Twisted Minds holding it. Emo Pig does at least manage to get down, but Tulans, they're making the push down the hillside. Spyro's going to deal on him. Perfectix, the raid boss, though, does not relent.
It doesn't even matter because 17 is actually going to be able to see this, and as are Flash and the rest of, it looks like Day Trade, and I don't know if Twisted can even recover from this. Maybe, though, maybe they'll be able to get one up. They still have to rotate in, as again, 17 has been sat in this compound for so long, trying to just get rid of Sarvum, who have somehow survived for this long, Matt.
This has just been a very contested compound as well. It's been, it's had airdrops come into it. It's had just a bit of
There's been a lot of commotion.
Yeah, it's been where the party's been going down, and there are probably quite a few crates in that area. Day Trade about to have to make their rotation in just a second, but much friendlier as they have a couple of options up into the north. But their eyes are much more focused down the south, realizing, hey, yes, we've got the circle, but we need kills, and being much more proactive than what we saw them yesterday.
And I like this because they know they have a foothold in the north, and they're going to actually push here to try to take over this race. Mortars now starting to come in as well. They have to be careful of that, as Day Trade is making their approach over towards D plus Kia's dip. And again, what do you do here if you're D plus K? You have to hunker down and smokes as the rest of the team is coming as well.
Oh my God, you gotta be careful though, but we did see Perfectus manage to get back up Batulans. He's gonna be pushing into that Sarvum line while Day Trade's gonna be pushing into D plus Kia. This whole low ground area is gonna be popping off at any given second. Belmoth going for a long toss, gonna be landing right back behind the rock, gonna do some damage, not quite enough. Nurens though, leading the way through what is just a hellacious area. Jumps up on top of the rock, spots out one, spins back around, realizes where David's gonna be at as he gets gets that information back over from some down teammates. Xena still playing back behind us. Puchu's finally going to be coming into this one. It is just going crazy. Sarvum in the trouble as it's going to be a continued push coming up from Twisted Minds as well.
And Xiaowu actually getting some kills there as well. Another flusher with the nade as Daytrade, as you said, knows that they need to get these kills. And so Xena doing whatever he can to buy some time. He will actually find a knock as David will also still stand. But Puchu's now coming to join the fight, and D+Kia will eliminate them as well as Twisted Minds.
They have got to be careful, though. The blue zone's already coming in. They do not have much time. It's just probably going to be Americano, not even a chance to really pick up any of the loot off of this. Sarvum's taken a big chunk of damage over there. They've been entirely eliminated based off all the craziness, but it's going to be also, steps out, gets the kill on the last member for Twisted Minds. So, while all of this has been going on...
Forest Gaming.
Ooh, yep, North, it's all them.
They have been able to spread out all across the North. Again, they were able to take that from 4 a.m. early, and because of these shifts and the damage that's been done to 17, as well as D+Kia, they have all the control. So even though they probably aren't going to come out of this one with a big amount of kills, they will be able to probably win this game as they are currently sitting in 9th. That's going to be a nice finish, and it's going to put them right up on that leaderboard.
It's still pretty scary whenever you've got 17 Gaming being active, and look, that's going to be so much loot being picked up for a squad that's been having to deal with so many firefights, so much attrition. You can see just jumping from point to point, picking up some new helmets, anything that can work now for this in-game fight, going to be good. Xiaowu's kind of back behind this.
The mortar set up there. I think that's how Xiaowu actually knocked himself. The mortar hit the roof of that warehouse.
You know, sometimes it happens. It's fun.
I mean, fun. We'll call it fun.
Well, I mean, you saw the face. They didn't get to see my face on stream, but we'll put quotation marks around that.
I mean, this game is really forced to lose, though. They have all the control. They have the best circle position. They're barely even touched or scratched as far as their gear and utility. And so all they have to do now is wait for this one to come to them, right? It is going to be 17 as well as D+Kia that have to make the move. And there is no good move into this. Even with Smokes crossing that road, the amount of utility that Forrest should be able to use against them is just too devastating. It's too strong.
Xiaowu still playing pretty close to the D+Kia line as well. And yeah, like you said, Forrest, they had to fight for this way earlier, but they did a great job of cementing it in. And
Okay.
No, they don't like that shield. Specifically, that one needs to go away.
Still, though, I mean, Xiaobai could find a couple knocks. 17 would love to just get a couple more points here. Even if they do go out, they know that the likelihood of them winning this game is fairly low as Americano will step over, and they really need these points. So if anything, D+Q would really love to get rid of 17 here as a spray is going to come out. Olympus will find it, though. In fact, he's going to find both of those.
Okay, now Xiaowu, what do you do here? Do you continue your push in as whenever we look at the points and the way everything's going to be set up? Forrest still kind of in the hunt, and this is going to be a good game.
Just deny this.
I wouldn't be surprised if he just kind of locks us down. Yeah, that's what a lot of these smokes are, making sure that nobody's going for the push to try to pick him up, because Forrest knows they've got this one contained. Crossing the road, though, can be pretty nerve-wracking as, here come the nades, here come the blue zone. That's the smart call in this situation.
Anticlimactic, but let me tell you, Forrest did earn that. The way they spread out, obviously taking the fight earlier to 4 a.m. and trying to do as much damage as they could. The problem is they couldn't spread out as much as they wanted to because of Daytrade's position before that, but he will raise his hand, and honestly, it's a beautiful game for them to jump up the leaderboard as well. 17 also